tale is now.
Coming up, Johnny admits he might not be cut out for sheep whispering.
I can't help the behaviour of sheep.
And Steve gives us a bit too much information.
Oh, that's a dirty back end if ever I saw a dirty back end.
This week, our crack MudMen team of mud god Steve, his sidekick Rock and me have been coming up trumps on the foreshore at Blackwall.
Got a handle on my bucket.
We've had a blinding day in East London, opposite the Millennium Dome, and can't wait to check out our finds.
Hurry up, Steve.
But to do this, we're having to go to a top-secret location, far away from the glare of the media spotlight. Let's face facts, MudMen is a worldwide hit, with an unprecedented amount of adoring fans. Steve's popularity has soared. Last year, he was asked to open the new pool table at his local pub, the Black Horse in Deptford. But it's come at a high price. Steve has a stalker.
There was a knock on the door, yeah, the postman's there, my missus took it in. She said, that's for you. Open it up, Etch-a-Sketch.
What was it an image of?
Again, you don't know.
Weird. Listen, I've got to get Dr. Michael, yeah?
How long are you going to be this time?
I've got to find him, haven't I? I've got to find him, I've got to swag him, I've got to get him in the cab.
I need to bring the British Museum's Dr. Michael Lewis to our top-secret location. He's the deputy head of the Portable Antiquities Scheme, and he needs to record our finds. What he doesn't know is that he's about to do that now.
Just be cool, just
What's
be cool.
going
just
on?
Be cool. It's the find sequence.
Where are we going this time?
We're just going. Go. Run to Stevie, baby. Go, baby.
Dr. Lewis, how are you?
This seems a bit unnecessary, doesn't it?
You should have seen what I got on an Etch-a-Sketch earlier on.
What?
You just don't want to know. Sit down. So, Michael, this is the Blackwall table.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Well, there's an amazing amount of material, isn't there? I mean, you've got all sorts of clay pipes, loads and loads of pottery, which is really nice to see.
Also, what's good is, look, the amount of medieval stuff that's been worked. And all over the table, yeah, we've had something that's been worked, so it just makes these items really personal as well.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to put your finger where someone in the medieval times has kind of gone before, if you like.
So what else catches your eye on the table?
Well, you've got a couple of medieval coins here. These are hammered coins, so these were struck with a hammer between dies, whereas obviously some of this more modern coinage would have been machine produced, so milled we sometimes call it. So it's quite nice to get hammered coins. This one is of Edward I and dates to about 1299, 1300. Now, in medieval times, they have these crosses on the backs of coins because the only denomination of coin for most of the medieval period was the penny. And this is a penny. And what they would do is they would have a cross on the back so they could cut it into half pennies and quarter pennies.
Okay.
So that was the equivalent of change. That's a nice find. A little bit later, we've got another hammered coin here as well. And I think this one's the Durham mint. So that's quite nice to have different mints. So it just shows you how these coins are being circulated through the country.
Michael, back then, how did these mints function, and how did they police, you know, who was stamping coinage and minting coin?
Well, the dies themselves are controlled. So the king would have the dies made centrally, and they would be given to people, and they'd be allowed to mint coins on behalf of the king.
OK. So this is where we get the phrase, the die is cast, right?
Exactly. Talking about the medieval trade, though, we've looked at the coins, but there's also lots of bag seals here that we've got. But these cloth seals are obviously really important in the medieval period because, again, like coins, they're regulated, and cloth seals were attached to the cloth that was being bought and sold across the country.
Also, there was something on the table, yeah, that was a one-off for Vaughan. Vaughan actually found something that he's never found before. What did you find, Vaughan? Come on.
Well, you know, I love a Bellarmine pot. I'm convinced one day I'm going to find one whole and intact.
That's a really nice one, isn't it?
It's a really good one. You can actually see the cardinal.
The whole of it's there, isn't it?
Yes.
Gosh, look at that.
Now, I quite like this over here, Michael. Do you want to pick that up? What do you reckon on this?
I mean, was it broken when you found it then?
No, he smashed it up, Michael.
Well, I don't
Take
know.
a wild guess. Of course it was completely intact when he found it, Michael.
Well, actually,
what do you think he is? Stupid?
I have got an answer to this because sometimes in excavations in Egypt and stuff, that they used to pay people piecemeal for the objects that they brought. So that's how they were paid. When they recovered these objects from the desert, they were given a coin for every time they found one. So they got into the idea that they got a little bit more money for breaking up their...
Really? Is that what? Is that?
I've been caught out. So, Michael, what age have we got on this?
Well, I think Johnny got it about right. I think it's probably about 17th or 18th century. It's a kind of a slip.
See, I just put that in to take the Michael.
Michael, could you sum up the table for us, please, and give us a quest?
OK, well, we've got loads of medieval stuff. I mean, there's lots of material from all the different periods, but there's a lot of interesting medieval things. We've got medieval coinage, we've got some tokens, probably from the medieval period, pottery from the medieval period, and also we've got some cloth seals as well. So what I think makes sense is to look at life in the medieval times and the type of trades that people did in medieval England and how that was really important to their life.
OK.
Sounds good.
Michael, thank you very much.
No
What we've got to do, yeah? Look on the ground,
Right.
follow the arrows to exit, yeah? And that'll bring you back to terra firma, yeah?
OK,
Follow the exit arrows.
All right, then.
If you see anyone outside, just give us a shout.
OK, all right, cheers.
See you
Nice to
later. I think you like the table.
I think I like the table, and more than that, I'd now like you to pack it all up.
Well, where are you going?
We'll have a little keep on.
After a quick nap and some strawberry milk, we're off on our medieval trade mission. And to kick it off, there's only one place to go.
Steve and I have come down to the City of London, the famous Square Mile, which really is...
It's the powerhouse of the country's economy.
It is the powerhouse, Steve.
Banking.
Foreign exchange.
Trading.
But what did they trade back in medieval times? That's what Steve and I are down here to find out. Let's go, Sven.
Looking at modern London with its symbols of wealth, it's amazing to think that the driving force behind our medieval economy was the humble wool trade. Once described as the jewel in the realm, wool was this country's most important product. To find out more about it, we've come to meet Dr. Antonio Senis, the director of the UCL Centre for Medieval and Renaissance Studies.
Hello there, I'm Johnny.
Steve, pleased to meet you.
That's Steve.
This week, Steve and I have been given as our mission to find out about medieval trade. Can you tell us a bit about it?
The strong point of Britain has always been wool.
Yeah.
The best wool in Europe would come from Scotland and in England. Wales was also very strong on wool. And so this was always a very attractive material for continental manufacturers, because obviously it's lovely to have silk and precious clothes, but everyday people need to wear cheaper clothes.
So how did the wool trade start?
Florentine and Flanders manufacturers have to face the reality that their local wool is pretty rough.
Yeah.
They have it. There is wool and sheep in England.
But it's not like the quality of our
There's
wool.
quality. So the two best wools, let's say, in the Middle Ages are Spain and the Scottish and English wool. So Florentine and Flemish manufacturers import this wool, weave it, work it, transform it in top quality material, and then they re-export it. And it's so important that by the, well, it's probably Richard Lionheart, so Richard I, and end of the 12th century, that the king starts to regulate the production in terms of size, quantities of wool that it's produced, and they start really, putting seals on bales of wool.
You mentioned they're the cloth seals. We found some of those on the foreshore, and that's exactly what kind of spurred this quest.
They're great. Oh, this is exactly what I was talking about. These seals would be put with a piece of string around the bale of wool to guarantee the quality and the dimension and the size of the seal.
So how did that prosperity gained from wool trickle down and affect everyday people in medieval times?
You have to remember that wool was so pivotal, so central in the life of medieval English people, British people, that almost everyone of the lower classes was involved in its production. You would have shepherds, you would have fullers, you would have weavers, etc., etc.
And all these surnames still survive today. It's kind of shows that, doesn't it?
Exactly. And you would have people involved in the trade, in the export and in the sort of a circulation of wool. So almost everyone in England, in a certain class, was involved in some ways in either the production or the manufacturing of wool products. You have to remember that wool is an absolute cornerstone of English economics, politics and culture throughout the Middle Ages.
Antonio, thank you very much for talking to us and giving us an insight into the medieval wool trade. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
See you soon. Take care. Bye.
So now we know wool was central to our medieval economy, where else should we go but a sheep farm in Wales to learn about the skills medieval shepherds would have needed? Wool was the backbone and indeed the driving force behind our medieval economy. Anyone who had any land at all, from big landowners to peasants with a small holding, kept sheep. In fact, shepherds then were as plentiful as office workers are today.
But you know what, Vaughanie? Today we're going to find out how sheep were looked after in medieval times.
And if you're wondering why we're holding seemingly irrelevant Labrador puppies for this particular link, it's because female viewers absolutely love them, and they're a key demographic, aren't you, girls? Show 'em, Steve. Look at that. Come on, Steve.
I love this puppy.
I love it.
I really do.